So I saw a news story recently where a dachshund was bound and taped. His snout was taped, his paws were taped, and he was thrown out of a window and was found in a ditch 12 hours later in 30-degree weather. And the gentleman who's responsible, or allegedly responsible for this, is a guy by the name of Paul Garcia. This happened in Jefferson County, Missouri, and this was a deeply troubling story to me. I have a deep affection and passion for animals. And one of the things that got me thinking about this was that this story eventually had a happy ending. The dog actually did not belong to this Paul Garcia gentleman and was reunited with its actual owner. The question I had was, even though the criminal justice system is prosecuting Paul Garcia for the activities he did, the alleged activities he did, and animal abuse, and I think he was charged with armed criminal action, what happens to the dog, or more specifically, how do we care for the dog if it turns out that the dog belonged to Mr. Garcia? And in the criminal justice system, they can bring charges to try to deter future conduct like animal abuse. They can impose fines, they can impose prison time, they can put the person on probation, and basically say, don't do that again. You're not allowed to do that again. But if this were a human that were abused, then the human could bring a civil case against Mr. Garcia and could sue for the harm that was caused. In Missouri and elsewhere, dogs and other animals are considered property, and so they can't bring cases on their own. But how do we, who pays for taking care of the dog and the animals after we find them, and then who's responsible for paying that? And so the thought that I had was, what if we had some sort of special office within the prosecutor's office, local prosecutor's office, or attorney general's office that hired out or contracted with attorneys to bring cases on behalf of animals or on behalf of some sort of fund within the state of Missouri against these animal abusers in the civil justice system, where the burden is much lower to prove a case against these alleged animal abusers, and the money, the civil judgments that are obtained go to this fund, and they take care of animal abuse shelters throughout the state. So the case is brought in the name of the fund in relation to a specific case, and then the money from the animal abuser, alleged animal abuser, goes into the fund. I think the counterpoint to this is, well, you're going to be suing people who probably don't have funds to begin with, but that's a problem we have in any number of civil cases we bring. We still have to bring them, though, because the purpose of the tort system, which is a civil remedy, the purpose of bringing those cases is to deter future conduct. And so we want to do that. We want to let people know that if you're going to do something like this, then you're going to be held responsible, and you may have to pay for it for the rest of your life. And then I think the other counterpoint to it is, well, where do we draw the legal distinction between what's considered animal abuse and what may not be considered animal abuse? We're smart. I think we do that already. We figure that out with the criminal justice system. I think we can trust 12 people or a judge to make that determination. So, I'm not real sure about that argument, but I've been kicking this around in my head, thinking about it. I don't know if it's practical, but I do know that I think something along these lines would be worthwhile to consider. So I would welcome any criticisms, any sort of supporting opinions, any ideas, or you can just tell me that's complete nonsense. We can't do that. It's not impossible. I don't think that, but I would be glad to hear your opinions on the issue. And you're more than welcome to look at the news story, which I'll link in the comment section below. Thank you.